Inside Publishing is a video series where we try to take you through the ins and outs of publishing. We're going to show you editing, graphic design, marketing. We'll give you a look into audiobook narration, printing, binding, and we'll even have a video on book restoration for books that are 100 years old and more. The goal of the series is to give you a look inside what goes into a story before it makes it onto the shelves, to give you Q&As as well as video footage showing everything to give you just a little bit closer inside look into publishing. And this entire video series is made possible because of our sponsor who sponsored this entire video series, Campfire, which is a writing platform that helps you to write better stories faster. But we'll talk more about them at the end of the video. In this video, we're going to take a closer look into the editing process. But first, we got to have a quick talk with the founder and CEO of Sourcebooks, the publisher that we were visiting, and talk a little bit more with her about publishing as a whole.
Like many Americans, I'm an immigrant. And I learned to speak and I learned to read and speak English through books. I mean, books were the life that gave me life and gave me, gave me a view into the world that I didn't have. When you go to the sourcebooks.com website, you'll find that the very first thing you'll see is books change lives. And because we believe that, books are the most important storytelling form that we have as a nation and a world. So for me, the vision I have for Sourcebooks is not really about a vision about Sourcebooks. It's a vision about the service that we provide to our author partners. I get to work with some of the most creative people in the world to bring the stories and the work that they care about to the world. And that's what I believe a publisher does. So a publisher, it is, for me, defined as the act of making public. That's what I love about the work we do is understanding these extraordinary creative people who have the courage to face a blank page, which honestly I would never have the courage to do. So I really appreciate them and helping them to accomplish whatever their dreams are. My goal is to really create for the author, for an author of a talented, bright, and engaged author, the platform that they need to really reach the audience that they're looking to reach. Old style publishing, the way that publishing used to work was that it was a curation, it was a separateness, there was a snobism to it. But we're an indie press, we're an outsider press. And our goal is to create success for these extraordinary talents. Mm-hmm. I'm Dominique Rocca, and I'm the publisher and founder of Sourcebooks.
Next, we got to talk to two editors at Sourcebooks. We learned that once an agent picks up an author, the agent is actually pitching the manuscript to the editors of the publishing companies.
I take a look at the pitch. Usually the agent has a couple paragraphs of a pitch, why this is interesting, who the author is, what the comp titles might be, what other books are, that are like this. And if we're all kind of on the same page, then I'll bring it to the acquisitions meeting and pitch it to the wider group and to our publisher. We only have room for so many books in the list. We only have room to put so much effort behind so many books. So what is the case for why we should go ahead and go with this one? So I have to figure that out. And then if I get the green light, then I'll go ahead and make an offer.
They mentioned that after they get the green light from the publishers, they then get to make an offer to the author. So I asked specifically, what are the factors that go into the different types of offers authors get?
So many factors. It varies a lot. It'll depend on, has the author written anything before? If so, was it the same kind of book? Was it a different kind of book? Are they switching genres? Are they working on a platform? What kind of an audience do they have on Instagram or Twitter or whatever? What might that look like? What's the story like? Is it of course, let's assume every story is amazing, but is it unique? Is it a story we haven't heard before? Is it a hook we haven't heard before? And there could be all kinds of other hurdles or benefits, to assess when you're trying to figure out what you should do.
Next, I wanted to get into the details. What's the process of the editing? How many editing passes does the book get? And how much freedom does the author have in which edits they want to accept and which ones they want to reject?
Sure. Well, I will have read the entire manuscript before making the offer. So I might have put some general thoughts in the offer letter. Look, I think we should cut it down. It's really long, or I think this character is great, or I think it sags a little in the middle. What do you think about these sorts of thoughts? So they'll have that in mind, but usually I will then take a step back and reread it at a much slower pace and put together a longer editorial letter of the things that they might want to think about as they're revising. So we'll go through a big picture sort of edit, and then they'll take a look at that, address things how they see fit, and then we'll come back to me for another edit where I'll review what they've done and then look at line edits to see if we want to do anything, how much we want to do there.
So that can be a little different, especially if it's something that's illustrated. The initial read through is the same. We look at a book for the story arc, making sure that the characters make sense, and we do all of that developmental editing. But sometimes that manuscript can change once we see what the artwork looks like. Or we find a visual story that needs to be addressed in the manuscript itself. So we can make edits to a manuscript even a little bit farther down the road than the initial developmental edit.
I would say 2 to 3 rounds of edits for me are pretty typical.
There are certain books that just take more rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. But the author gets several chances to look at things. You know, we'll have the big picture edit, then another line edit, and if it's only 2 rounds, let's say, then you would take a look at the copy edit, and then the book in the first set of pages, and then another set of pages. So there's lots of times to make sure this is how I want it to be. I see my role as one to try to help the author make the book the best book possible with the widest possible readership. And so when I'm editing, I'm looking for where are the holes, where are the problems, where are the things that readers, reviewers might find, and when we get to those things, what are the possible ways they could address them? A lot of times I'll just say, oh, we've got 3 chapters in the middle that sag a little bit. I think the pacing really needs to pick up. You could fix it this way. You might have another way. And let them kind of go off and fix things. I've learned over the years that some authors really would like specific suggestions. Please tell me to do these 3 things that you think will make it better. Others want more of a general, not really sure about this character, why don't you take another look? This book, The Last Flight, was a pretty good example of an ending where I was not sure about the ending. I wrote her a long paragraph, pages about why we might want to consider changing it. What did she think about it? Are we sure we want to stay with the ending as she originally wrote it? We went back and forth, and eventually she wanted to keep it the way that she wrote it, and we did. And we have gotten a lot of comments on it. People wondering, oh, I'm not sure about that. But that was great. It actually worked out really well, I think, because people talked about it and wanted to know, why did you do that? What are you doing? This is interesting. But yeah, I just want the author to tell the story they want to tell and to make sure that we're removing anything that would distract from that.
I am Kelly Barales-Saylor.
And I am Shayna Drays.
And we are editorial directors at Sourcebooks.
It was really interesting to me to get to know a little bit more about the timelines of editing, how many edits a manuscript had, and what kind of relationships the editors had with the authors. Next episode, we're going to be talking about graphic design, the ins and outs of what goes into creating the cover art of a book. Again, I asked questions about how involved authors are, what the process was, and I found it so interesting. But in the meantime, while you're waiting for the next video, be sure to check out Campfire Blaze, the sponsor of this series. Hello, I'm Patricia McRiderly, a very famous, very well-known, and very successful author. And I've written all these books. Don't worry about the titles of them. They're popular. They're successful. Today, I'm going to take you through my writing process. First thing I do is I write out everything that I plan on doing. I have character sheets, I have world building and maps, and general plot. It's all here on paper and pencil, which is the most accessible and best way to do it. When I am ready to write the story, it's all right here in front of me. My character sheets, and then whenever I'm ready for the world building, here it is. I've got the world the world information. What did I do with that? It's the most successful way to write your story with simple paper and pencil. It's not overwhelming. I don't lose anything, ever. It's easy to keep falling back on our old methods of writing, but the reality is writing a book is hard and keeping it all organized is even harder. But Campfire Blaze is a browser-based writing application with a full site of organizational tools that help you to write the stories you want to write. Its manuscript module will safely store your project in the cloud and allow you to quickly reference details from your story with auto-tagging. You can create your characters and connect how they interact with the other relationships, as well as keeping track of your world building, maps, locations, species, magic systems, cultures, and more. The timelines are also extremely flexible, which allows you to plan your stories in ways that work for you. Your stories are private, but it's easy to share them or even collaborate with others. Campfire Blaze also receives new features every month and is free to use for smaller projects. If you need more space, you only have to pay for the features you need for as little as 50 cents. And if you aren't satisfied, you can get your money back with their 30-day return policy. Write better stories faster with Campfire Blaze. I'm personally using Campfire Blaze right now to write a story, and I highly recommend it. Check out the link in the description to learn more. Thanks again for joining us for the editing part of this series. Next week, we'll be taking a closer look into graphic design.